I don't see no stinking record. There's the record. Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are three Black Pratt grads, and I am Mark Skinner. I'm here with Kenneth Nelson and Greg Cleghorn. And today we are going to be citing who we think, as individuals, are the best photographers of the 20th century. The first, the second, and the third best photographers of the 20th century. These are just our opinions. We all have our reasons. And I'm going to start with Kenneth.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through as quickly as I possible, and I'll share my screen just to give you an idea. Okay, so first of all, I think one of the most prolific things to happen in the 20th century is the development of the Farm Securities Administration and the photographers who were part of that administration. So I just wanted to give props to them because I think what they did was prolific, and I think it produced some of the best photographers of the 20th century. One of the best photographers of the 20th century, I consider Dorothea Lange. Right. You can Google Dorothea Lange. She was part of the Farm Security Administration. She's also a prolific photographer, all-around photographer. Get the details from that. So I'm just going to go through this quick. Third person, Gordon Parks, first black man. The only black man to be part of this Farm Security Administration. One of the most famous black photographers in the history of the world. So if you know him or if you know of him, if you're black, you probably know of him. If you're not, you should. Then we can go to different, and we'll just do Ansel Adams. Very famous landscape photographer, but also had work done in other spheres of photography. I'm just not going to lay on this. I'm just going to go. Fashion, Francesco Scavullo. I think he's one of the most
I haven't heard
prolific.
That in a long time. Francesco is a bad boy.
Yeah, one of the most prolific fashion photographers in history. Probably one of the most famous photographers, famous for being a celebrity photographer, not a photographer of celebrities, although he did that, but really a celebrity photographer in his own right. Next is Irving Penn, one of the most famous fashion photographers in all time. So I put him on there. He did some prolific things in the East. So he's a great studio photographer, but he also did studio shots on location. So his name rolls off most people's famous photographers list. Next is Richard Avedon, one of the most prolific and famous fashion photographers of all time as well. So he had a history, he's also out there for at least having the name recognition of equivalent to a celebrity photographer. And I have two more. One other is Vivian Meyer. I think she is one of the most unsung heroes of history because she only came to prominence in the last decade. But she's been shooting since the 1930s, 40s. So right. She's been out there for a while.
You mentioned that she passed away before her work was discovered.
Yeah, she passed away before her work was discovered. But what you find out is that when they dug through her treasure trove, she produced some amazingly phenomenal work, equivalent to Helen Levitt. But I didn't put Helen Levitt on there because I just wanted to focus on Vivian Meyer. And the last person to bring it up to sort of a contemporary sphere, because all these other photographers are historically in the back, Sebastiao Salgado. One of the most famous photographers of landscape, also, I guess, eco-conscious photographers. So his work is dynamic, prolific, and amazingly visually exciting. So those are my picks. I couldn't go through and give you a best first, second, and third because I think even incidentally for me to pick that type, it just wouldn't do justice to anyone because I think they all have something amazing and they all are famous in their own right and they all deserve recognition for what they've done. So that's what I've got. That's my pick.
All right, who's next? Is it me or Ken? Give me a Greg. Ken, I think you copped out and you added a zillion people, but I'm going to do something similar to when I speak. So,
okay.
I think we should end the show right now. I think we covered all the. I think we're good. That's it for us.
We missed a few. We missed a few, but go ahead.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, Mark, I will put you on there now.
All right. Now, for me, it is definitively Irving Penn because of the type of work that Irving Penn did. That was just everything I want to do. If you go to the second slide, you'll see in the second slide, I tried to copy Irving Penn myself in almost everything I did when I was in school. Go to the next one. That was just the person. It was hard to find Irving Penn photographs to replicate because there was no internet. So you had to dig through the library. The library at Pratt is phenomenal. And you guys will know it is the best library in Brooklyn, particularly for art. It may still be, it was then, and it is a phenomenal resource for printed material for artists of every type. All right, you can ditch the photos right now.
Is that an Irving Penn picture?
No, that's mine. That was mine. I did that at Pratt. It was one of the ones that helped me start getting published when I was there. But what's really cool is that Penn just, he started as a painter, and Alex, was it Brodovich that he studied with? And so did Avedon. And I think there's this war that pretty much went on between Penn and Avedon. And I'd have to say, Avedon, as much as he really should be number 2, I'm going to say the whole FSA again, like Ken did. Avedon probably, the only reason why I don't put him as number 2 is because the work I do now is probably so much closer to what Avedon does. I'm not as impressed as I was when I was younger, but I'm still impressed by Penn. And FSA has got to be number 2, particularly Parks and Eugene Smith, Eugene Smith, and those people in Lange. They did phenomenal work. And my number 3 for me, and it just zipped out of my mind as I was talking. I would have to say would be, of course, Bernice, Abbott, and Lartigue would be sharing that space for 3. I apologize to all you street shooters, so I didn't mention Cartier-Bresson, but that's why Greg is here. So, Greg, you're up. Well, there you go, and that's that. You gotta say who you, but you gotta put them in order. Ken didn't put them in order. I put them in order. So mine is Penn, right? With Avedon slugging it out for number 1 there. He's the close number 2. He's like between 1 and 2, like a 1A. And then Farm Security Administration, because of what people like Parks had to go through, that's just hands down, And then Abbott, Lartigue, and that's it for my 3.
Yeah. Greg?
Okay, yeah, just dub it a Greg. What have you got? I feel like the guy who just didn't study for the test today, and that's okay. 3
it is.
I mean, there are just so many photographers. I mean, I couldn't just nail down to one. I mean, the tech has gotten so high, and the background tech, like, my God, all we got to do is mess with burning and dodging. That was high speed back in the day. Or if we really wanted to get crazy, we had to add, Marshall oils and stuff. Now with this digital revolution, I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do that, photographers have just gone to the limits, or limits as far as now.
Right, but
any of the National Geographic photographers for me would be an example, because they use the basics to high art. Adding flash fill, the pop of light, or the gentleman that does the photographic arc of all the animals. And I've seen the documentary of how he gets all of these animals into this little controlled cage studio. He'll put a white background, black background, add light here, and if you haven't seen the photographic arc, A-R-K, look it up. Amazing photographs, and really makes these animals come to life. My God, any of the Vogue photographers, any of the high fashion photographers, their work is just so creamy and sharp and well designed, and you may not be able to see it in the final image, but there's like a host of like 30, 40 artists, background artists, theatrical artists, building the stages, dressing the model, makeup artists, the lighting guy, any of those guys. They take care and they make the images just as smooth and creamy, as timeless as anything. Okay. As far as my 1, 2, and 3, of course, I'm going to shout out to my man Cartier-Bresson. You know, because he used to grow up, and he grew up in Brooklyn, and you know, we was okay, maybe not, but I like Cartier-Bresson a lot. You know, his decisive moment for me, connecting that with, you know, the human condition. Images don't get better than that when you just capture that moment, you know, and you know it when it happens, and you know it if you capture it, and that is like the best message for me. Other guys, I mean, I've always got a thing for Wegman, Winogrand. You know, his stylistic images are just, they're like paintings. You know, high end drawings for me. So I always had a big place in my heart for classical 20th century photographers as far as that goes. And the other thing, Ouija, Mr. Ouija, you know, the photojournalist, you know, he'd go out, and I like studio, love studio, because you can control everything. Everything has its place, you know. The light has to be just right. I remember working as a portrait photographer, and this woman, her face was just angular. I'm sure I've told you guys this. And she was complaining that she just could not get a good picture of herself. And I looked at her and I was like, I can see why. So I did a trick that I learned at Pratt's. I had the classic Kodak 4-point lighting background, you know, lead, fill, whatever. I turned all of them off except for one. And I set it up and I walked around her just so I could see how the light was falling on her face. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, stop, don't move. Then I added the fills and everything, and I was able to capture an image that she was having. But guys that really explore light, you know, there's just nothing like it, you know. And then you get to deal with people, you know, and you do the photojournalism, and you're on the street, and you know, you're out there with skaters and dancers, and you know, people jostling, you know, in New York. So there's a symbiosis, a synchronicity when the photographer is out there shooting and talking and communing and working with people. That's just something that a lot of the 20th century photographers really explored, and I think they've come up with some amazing work. And my third top photographer, actually, you know, I back in the day, I like Anthony Barboza, because, well, not just because his daughter went to Pratt, but because what he captured, you know, a man of color, and he was at a high level doing fashion work and getting recognition. But my third would be, unfortunately, like that woman that you were mentioning, the undiscovered photographers, because there's a lot of good shooters out there that don't have a platform, you know, that don't have a voice, you know, just like, you got all this work, you think you're doing good stuff, but how do I get my work out there? How do I get a platform? How do I become recognized, you know? So I'd like to reserve my third for the undiscovered photographers that need to just keep shooting, learn your craft, and never give up, man. You just gotta have the love. It's a love thing, you know. Some people do become millionaires photographers, no doubt. Most of them don't.
So I mean, yeah, right. So
you have to love it. You have to love it. You have to keep at it. That's all I gotta say. Good.
All right. So I guess can we wrap it up here? Do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
What I want to add, I'll just add that if, again, as usual, if any of the viewers out there have any questions, or if they want to add their favorites to the list, they can add their favorites to the list in the comments section below.
They got 20th century photographers, though. They must be 20th century photographers.
They got to come on live with us and explain and qualify why they like.
No, they don't have to do that. I mean, they can be 20th century photographers who did continue into the 21st century, but they have to have been working pros in the.
We got to get some guests on up
Makes
in here.
sense.
Fun talking to you guys. But yeah, but no, I understand. I'm with you.
Okay, I'm done.
So am I. All right, then we are three Black Pratt grads, and this is Mark Skinner. I'm here with Kenneth Nelson and Greg Cleghorn, and we hope you enjoyed listening to us tonight. Please subscribe. Please like. Have a good evening.
Live from